Hello, welcome to my SOA Exam P video series. My goal is to gradually work my way through all 300 plus of the Exam P problem set that SOA provides with full explanations and concepts. As a side project that will probably be necessary running parallel with this will be some basic lessons over the concepts as a whole, which I expect to be doing sort of as I work through this series. So, without further ado, we are going to start with question number 1. Okay, a survey of a group's viewing habits over the last year revealed the following information. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can read it yourself. There's certain percentages of those who watch gymnastics, baseball, and soccer total. There's certain percentages of those who watched two sports, exactly two of the sports, and all the combinations there. And there is a percentage for those that watched all three. What we're wanting is a percentage of the group that watched none of the three sports during the last year. And we have several choices here. So there is more than one way to do this. I'm going to show first the Venn diagram method, and then I'm also going to show the principle of inclusion and exclusion method. Both of these can be quicker or slower depending on which one is the first one that happens to come to your mind. I am a firm believer that when taking a test, the strategy that is the one that comes quickest to your mind, as long as it is a sound strategy, that is your best strategy. That is your best test strategy. Because this is a timed test, and on actuarial exams, you want to make sure that you average no more than 6 minutes per question. Because when you get to the really, really difficult ones that probably take more than 6 minutes, you are going to be in a big world of hurt and sweating bullets by the time that the end of that 3 hours is approaching. It is amazing how stressful that last 30 minutes to an hour of an actuarial exam can be. So I've made a three-way Venn diagram that has all the categories: gymnastics, baseball, and soccer. And if you're going to use this method, then you need to start with the one that has the most in common, the most inclusive one, which is all three sports. That is that 8%. That is that last thing. And that 8% is going to go in this little space right here. And then we kind of work our way towards those that have two categories intersecting together, and then one category and one category only. So if you look at the next one up, 10% watch gymnastics and soccer, well, 8% of that is already accounted for, which means that there must be a remaining 2% in this space right here in order for that intersection of gymnastics and soccer to be 10%. Similarly, baseball and soccer, there's already 8% there. There needs to be 4 additional percent for that to add up to 12. For gymnastics and baseball, there's already 8 there as well, and there needs to be 6 in order to make that total to 14. Next, we go to those who watch soccer. Well, we've already got 2, 8, and 4, which adds up to 14 there. The total must be 19, which means that this space here must be 5. Baseball, we already have 6, 8, and 4, which totals up to 18. 29% watch baseball, so that total must be 29. 29 minus 18 is 11. That makes all of those total up to 29. 28% watch gymnastics, and there's also 18% already in that circle. So that means there must be 10% in this portion of the circle. Now, a quick calculation will tell us that these all add up to 48%. 48% comprises those that watched at least one of these sports. Could be one exactly, it could be 2 exactly, it could be all 3. 48% is the total of all of this. And so what we're wanting is the percentage of those who watched none of the three sports. Well, the opposite of watching at least one of the three sports is watching none of them. So what we need is the complement of this. That means 52%, the remaining 52% did not watch any of these sports. And that leaves us with choice D as our answer. That, as I said, is the Venn diagram method. Now I will show another method which I call the inclusion, well, it's not just me, mathematicians call this the inclusion and exclusion method. And this involves a specific formula which I'll show you on the next board. If you're familiar with set theory and probability, you may already be familiar with this particular formula, that probability of A union B equals the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A intersection B. Part of the reasoning of this is if you have two circles that intersect, like so, and if you were to paint each circle, very, very rough paint there. If you were to paint circle A and then paint circle B, you would end up double painting that middle portion. And so you would effectively have to remove one coat of paint if you wanted to have one coat of paint over the whole intersecting circle structure. And so we'd have to remove one of the intersections of that. A similar principle happens when you have three sets that you're doing a union of. If you have three such circles that intersect, then the way that you do the union of those three circles is you first add probability of A, probability of B, and probability of C, and then you subtract probability of A intersection B and probability of A intersection C and probability of B intersection C, and then you add back in probability of A intersection B intersection C, which is that middle portion. If we were to do that with our current example, which I'll show on the next board, then the probability of G union B union S, G for gymnastics, B for baseball, S for soccer, would be a probability of watching gymnastics plus the probability of watching baseball plus probability of soccer minus gymnastics and soccer minus baseball and soccer minus gymnastics and baseball, and then plus the intersection of all three will give us the following numbers. And this will total up to 48. And that 48 should look familiar because that was what all those numbers totaled up to in the Venn diagram. And once again, we need to subtract that from 100, and that gives us our total of 52, which is, again, is choice D. Now, I wouldn't recommend using both of those methods. One of those methods obviously is sufficient, and it's up to you which one you find more intuitive and which one you find quicker to use.